Hello and welcome back to Mark My Words Football Podcast with Rob.
That's God.
And this week we're diving into the exciting wrap-up of Week 16 and gearing up for a festive Week 17. It is Christmas week, and the NFL is bringing us games on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, making it a holiday treat for football fans like us everywhere. We've got some marquee matchups this week with massive playoff implications that you will not want to miss. So grab your eggnog, gingerbread cookies, gather around, and let's kick things off with all the action and analysis you need, starting off with last week's game between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills, in which the Bills prevailed narrowly by a score of 24-21. And what were your thoughts from this matchup?
They got lucky to escape with a win out of here. Yeah, they got very lucky. I think the defense really bailed them out with some good timely turnovers. The penalties were a big problem. He had 13 penalties for 78 yards that game. And the passing game was not very effective at all. Only 154 yards passing for Josh Allen, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The ground game was running pretty well, but other than that, not a whole lot to like here about the Bills. Hoping that it's more of just a blip than anything else, because they looked fairly good otherwise. But yeah, not a good day for the Bills.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Patriots really looked like they could have won this game if they were a better team and could take advantage of the mistakes that the Bills made. Bills really flirting with disaster here. They got outplayed for the majority of this game and in most categories. Josh Allen and that offense not looking like the offense we saw the past couple weeks. And, after the game, they kind of played it off, saying, basically saying we weren't going all out. And I actually believe that. I think, this time of the year, you pretty much know where you're going to be. You're not going to get the 1 seed at this point. You're not going to fall either to the 3. So there's kind of really not much to play for. So the motivation isn't really, there anymore. So I think it's not too concerning. They still won the game. They did what they needed to do. I mean, we've been seeing the Chiefs pull out games like this all season long, and I haven't been concerned with them. So I, too, would view this in the kind of the same vein. This is kind of a weird spot for the Bills in these last couple games that, you don't really have too much to play for.
Yeah, so I guess I would say this game wouldn't have affected me too much because of the situation. It didn't really change where I was. Especially bearing our conversation last week about the defense and whatnot, I think the Bills will be just fine. So it really doesn't change my opinion of them much.
Yes, the only thing that really disappoints me was Josh Allen's poor performance. That could really impact his MVP chances. I'd really like to see him get that MVP. He's been close a few years now and hasn't been able to do it. And him and Lamar are neck and neck this year, and this performance definitely does not help him. He's had a lot of great games this year, but he's also had some stinkers, especially that one against the Ravens. So, hopefully he can get back on track, and I think he's still the favorite for MVP right now, but it's after this game, it's definitely closer than it was for the last few weeks.
Yeah, it could definitely change. I mean, Lamar still has a lot to play for coming up this week, so we'll have to see how that all goes.
Yes, certainly. But Drake May, though, on the other side of this game, I've been really impressed with him all season long, considering that, this was a team that they weren't even going to start Drake May because they were afraid of him getting beat up behind that terrible offensive line. And he's managed to make the Patriots a watchable team for this season, and they've been pretty feisty. So I don't know what you think, but I think Drake May is definitely earned, a respect. And outside of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix both having really good rookie years, I think Drake May would be the top rookie in most classes.
Yeah, I think May's had a really good year, especially given all the circumstances that he's really faced. I have been impressed with him, especially with how much poise he's had. That's what I've been impressed with the most.
Yes, absolutely. And from there, we're going to go on to the Green Bay Packers' absolute drubbing of the New Orleans Saints, 34-0. This is the first shutout in the NFL this season. And what were your thoughts from this game?
I mean, Packers just really took care of business from start to finish. It wasn't super flashy. They did what they had to do, and they got out of there with a good win. No turnovers, didn't take a sack, had lots and lots of time of possession, and that's really all they had to do.
Yep, completely agree with that. And yeah, this was total domination right from the beginning. I mean, this game was never in question. Packers got it, and they just ran away with it pretty much right from the start. Didn't even really have to play Josh Jacobs at all in the second half, which was really nice because we play the Vikings next week, which is going to be a very tough matchup. So good that we kind of got Jacobs, our workhorse, some rest. Very, very good game overall, obviously on both sides of the football. This defense, though, is what I really want to focus on. I mean, this defense has become so much better as the season has gone on. This was the main concern for both of us early in the year, where they were forcing a lot of turnovers, but giving up a lot of yards as well. And these last few weeks, I've just been really impressed with this defense. Shutting the Saints out is, even though Spencer Rattler's in there, still a hard thing to do is shut a team out. And yeah, this Packers team, man, I think they really have a shot to beat anyone in the NFL in any given week.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's what I've been saying lately. I feel like you kind of pushed back a couple of weeks ago when I talked about that. But yeah, I think this team could I could certainly see them getting in the NFC Championship game. Like, they're to me a very good team, and they could take down any of the NFC big dogs on any given day.
Yes, I would agree with that. The one criticism I would have, and this is coming from a place of personal hurt, as Jordan Love is my fantasy QB, and he didn't do me any favors last week. And this is something, though, that I think, in all seriousness, I have been a little bit concerned with, is how he's being used in the offense. Earlier in the season, he was slinging it, looking like Brett Favre, throwing for a lot of yards, a lot of TDs, and a lot of interceptions. And lately, he's been, he hasn't looked terrible, but he's not been getting a lot of opportunities. He hasn't really been unleashed. And it looks like he's kind of being kept on a leash right now. And to me, that's something that you really have to stay away from, because if you want to win in the playoffs, you're going to need to have him play really good football. And if you're not putting him in a position to where he's doing that each, week in and week out, then he's not going to be prepared for it when the moment comes. If you're just having him play scripted football and just handing it off 10 times a game, or 10 times a quarter, you're not going to be able to, when that moment comes when he needs to play, he's going to be unprepared for it. So I think next couple of weeks, I really want to see Jordan Love just, free, unleash him, set him loose. And, you're going to be in the wild card spot. All you really have to play for is seeding. So if you want to say that, it doesn't really matter if you win or not, I would agree with that. So I would say I really want to see Jordan Love step into his own these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Yeah, I'd like to really see how much this offense can really do, because I think that this offense has a ton of potential. Like, probably the most, I think, in the NFC, other than maybe Detroit.
Yes, and there are a couple key plays here where Jordan Love, I'm not blaming this all on Matt LaFleur. I think Love has definitely played inconsistent. There was a couple plays where, he had Christian Watson wide open in the red zone early in the game, and he looks right at him, and he just kind of hesitates and then takes a check down to Kraft, which, okay, it's fine, and a drive ended in a touchdown anyway, but man, I mean, that you might not be so lucky if you're facing a team in the playoffs. I mean, that was a wide open Christian Watson, and he's just not trusting what he sees on the field. And another play to Jaden Reed that was underthrown severely. It still ended up being a big pass because Jaden Reed was able to catch it. But if he throws it on a dime, that's a touchdown, 60-plus yard touchdown. So Love definitely needs to be sharper. And I think Matt LaFleur needs to trust him to, he's going to have his mistakes. He's going to have his lumps. That's the only way that he's going to get better.
Yep.
All right. And from there, we're going to go now on to the NFL Clown of the Week for NFL Week 16.
Everybody loves a good clown, and now it's time to meet the NFL's Clown of the Week for this week. And this week, the Clown of the Week in the NFL is Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. So this week, Kevin Stefanski decided that he was going to bench Jameis Winston, instead put in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And this just turned out to be an absolute clown-worthy mistake, and just absolutely robbed us of would have been an amazing game. Jameis Winston, for as much as he can commit those turnovers, that is going to be the way that you were going to beat Cincinnati, or even have a chance, was to let Winston just sling it around like he does. Cincinnati has the awful defense. If any game you're going to play Winston, I think it would be that one. That will give your team the best chance to win. Instead, we put in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who has a difficult time throwing for even over 150 yards on 34 attempts, end up getting a rating of 45.8, throws 2 interceptions of his own. Like, at this point, why is Winston never in there to begin with? That just makes no sense to me. I think this is absolutely just clown-worthy decision by Kevin Stefanski to put in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That way, Kevin Stefanski, you are the clown of the week.
All right, and from there, we're going to go on to our game picks for NFL Week 17. And Scott really pulling away here in our pick'em competition. Really doing a nice job this year. But, although I may not be able to catch him, I'm going to do my best here in Week 17. Going to be, trying to stretch a little bit, taking all the points I can get. So let us get it started off here on Wednesday game between the Chiefs and the Steelers, Christmas Day. Chiefs looking for redemption from last year when they lost to the Raiders. Do you think they get it here?
Yes, I do think the Chiefs will win.
I will also have the Chiefs here.
Though, I think this game is may not be the most interesting. Saw a very funny tweet about that, saying that they thought it was going to be 57 minutes of both teams doing everything possible to keep it a one-score game before Mike Tomlin and Patrick Mahomes reveal who negotiated the better deal with the devil to win in the most unthinkable way possible.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, the way that these two teams' seasons have gone so far. Steelers, though, this is a huge game for them, and they've fallen short these last couple of weeks, losing by multiple possessions. That's pretty concerning because they've been playing solid football up to that point. Winning a ton of games, and the games they lost were very close. So, I mean, for me, this is a huge game for the Steelers, and I, of course, had them in the heavyweights in my tiers last time. I think if they lose this game, they're out of it. To me, this late in the year, their defense looks like it's kind of collapsing a little bit. If you lose 3 games in a row, this late in the season, barring injuries, you can't beat heavyweights, in my opinion. This is a huge game for the Steelers here, but I will go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely big game for that division.
Yes, and speaking of that division, the Baltimore Ravens will play the 3:30 game on Christmas. And who do you think wins between the Ravens and the Texans?
Oh, the Ravens winning this one.
I'll also take the Ravens here.
I mean, I think the Ravens definitely been the better team, but I was kind of surprised at how big that line really was.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans, to me, they don't really offer much. They've been, a little bit underwhelming this year. If you had, the expectations that some people did. For me, they have. This is kind of who I thought they would be. I think I predicted them to go 10-7 in my preseason predictions. It looks like that's going to be the case. But Ravens, I think they're picking it up at the right time. I mean, their defense has really cleaned it up. The penalties are cleaned up. And the Ravens, they changed the narrative last week against Pittsburgh with a very impressive win. So, yeah, I'm feeling better about the Ravens right now than I have all season.
Yeah, their defense has completely turned it around in terms of really how they've played.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that you never abandoned the Ravens, so I'll give you credit on that. I'm hoping the Texans can pull this one out just for my Steelers' sake, but not feeling too good about it. And to wrap up the Christmas games, we have a game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. Seahawks narrowly losing to the Vikings. Their season is in peril. Do you think they're able to keep it afloat with the win against the Bears?
Yes, I do. I have the Seahawks winning this one.
And I also have the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks, again this year, they just haven't been that interesting of a team, I guess. And they really should have been. It feels like they have all the weapons they need. Like, Geno Smith is a decent quarterback. It's not like he's amazing. I think we know that. But he should be good enough with those weapons he's got around them. And Mike McDonald's supposed to be a defensive guru, and the pieces they've got on them, they should be a playoff team, but for some reason they just aren't.
Yeah, the Seahawks seems like they've been the same exact team ever since Geno has gotten there. Just kind of around sniffing around the playoffs. Nobody's really afraid of them as contenders, and they've just kind of been spinning their tires, I think. I don't know what's going to take this team to the next level. I think if you want to keep Geno, he's one of these guys that he's kind of a middling quarterback that, he's going to be as good as the players around him. So, if you want to go and get a premier quarterback, I don't really see many options there. they're not bad enough, obviously, to draft a really good quarterback, so they're kind of stuck in no man's land here. I mean, I guess you have to hope that defense really develops under, McDonald over the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, and for the Bears, man, 4-11, I don't think their record reflects them as a team. I think they're a much better team than 4-11. I mean, that kind of puts them with the Jags and the Jets, who I think they're certainly better than. But yeah, definitely not the season that Bears fans were hoping for.
For sure.
And over now to the Saturday games, we have the 12 o'clock Central game between the Chargers and the Patriots. And who do you think wins this one?
Oh, the Chargers winning this one.
And I will also take the Chargers here.
And for me, I think there's been a little bit of doubt creeping back in for the Chargers, as we've really seen their defense falter the last couple of weeks, unlike we had seen it all happen this year.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, that's something that is, that happens to teams. I mean, last year for me, I really was fooled by the Browns and their defense because it was so good all throughout the season. And then the last few weeks, you kind of saw it break, and they allowed some pretty big point totals. And of course, in the playoffs, it just utterly collapsed. So I think that's something you have to worry about when the defense plays so physically that, towards the end of the year, sometimes they just run out of steam. So I think that might be what we're seeing with the Chargers. But very well-coached team. I think the offense is better than people think, even though they've been inconsistent. I love that fair catch field goal that we saw last week. I just love things like that. So, yeah, I think they'll easily take care of business against the Patriots here.
Yeah, they should. But I think my opinion has dropped a little bit. Even though they did come out of the win with Denver, they really were able to get things together in the second half because that defense was horrible the first half. They got things together. They won. But I guess I'm thinking a little lower of them going into the postseason than I had been earlier.
Yes, I think they're susceptible to lose in the wild card round, no matter who they're playing. I think if they're playing Houston, I would, like you said, a few weeks ago, I think I would have had them definitely beating Houston. Now, I'm not really sure. I think any team they play, they're susceptible to lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And next, we have a huge matchup here between the Broncos and the Bengals, two teams trying desperately to get into the playoffs. Broncos can probably clinch this with the win. Who do you think wins?
Oh, the Broncos winning this one?
And I'm going to take the Bengals here.
Okay. So here's a crazy stat that I've seen on Twitter that can help me pick this one. The Bengals have not beaten a current number one quarterback all season. The opposing quarterback in the Bengals wins this year: Andy Dalton, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Gardner Minshew, Cooper Rush, Will Levis, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious? That's crazy.
Yeah, so it seems like they may have just been merchants of playing terrible quarterbacks, all their wins. They don't have a win against a starting quarterback all year.
Oh, I mean, that certainly makes me pause a little bit, but they've gotten close. I mean, they were 1 point away from tying the Chiefs. I mean, they nearly lost to the Ravens a couple times too. So they've been close.
Yeah, they've definitely been close, but I just thought that was so crazy that they just hadn't beaten one yet, even with the 7 wins they do have. And I think they certainly should have had more.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is definitely a close one. I think the Broncos could definitely edge it out. But, I think the Bengals are, both teams are really desperate. I don't know. I just got a feeling about this one. I think that the Broncos, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't know that Bo Nix could keep up with Joe Burrow.
Yeah. That will be the one thing, but I've just seen so much from that Bengals defense. I think they're going to allow enough points from the Broncos. I think the Broncos have been able to put up production, even when their offense hasn't been amazing, they've still been able to produce somehow. Yes.
But in this game, I think, Bo Nix has been very good this year, but he's made some head scratching throws, and almost every game he'll have one where it's yo. So I think maybe if the Bengals are able to take advantage of that, Joe Burrow's been playing MVP football this season, but he's nowhere near that conversation just because of the Bengals record. I think the Bengals will edge them, but it's so tough to pick them because they've been just so inconsistent and, like you said, not able to beat good teams at all.
Yeah.
And from there, we got a matchup between the Cardinals and the Rams. Cardinals losing to the Panthers last week. Their season is over. And the Rams looking pretty good here, 9-6. Narrow win over the Jets, though, maybe a little bit concerning. Who do you think wins this NFC West battle?
I'm going to take the Cardinals to play spoiler here.
I'm going to go with my Rams here.
Well, the reason I picked this, I think that we may see some similar things that we saw back in week 2 when Cardinals destroyed them by 31 points. The score
Hmm.
41-10 really walked all over them that day. So I'll go a little bit off past experiences and just like all the crushing blows of what the Cardinals season has become over the last month. That they'll want a little bit of vengeance over their divisional foe.
Yes, Cardinals definitely seem like one of those pesky spoiler teams. Definitely, that they've been playing tough football all season long, and definitely not a team that you want to take lightly because they could definitely come back to bite you. But I think the Rams are, they know their situation. They are a well-experienced team, and I think they're going to be alert to that as well. Obviously, I think McVay is an exceptional coach. Stafford is a great QB, and with his receivers, he's been playing very good. So I will take the Rams here, but I think it will be a very close game.
All right.
And then we got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New York Giants. And who do you think will win this game? Colts still not out of it.
All the Colts winning this one.
I'll also take the Colts here.
Yeah, I think the Colts, like, again, it's like they've just kind of had a mediocre season. I don't know that people really expect them to do much more or do much less. They've kind of been about where I thought they should be.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, Colts. Yeah, I had to get him going 8-9. They might go 9-8. But, yeah, I mean, they're not technically out of missing the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to make it. Giants, though, complete bottom feeders. At this point, you want to lose as many games as possible. Maybe I think they should bring back Dayball, but maybe the only thing that concerns me is that he may think he's playing for his job and maybe wants a couple wins to boost his resume. But if you're the Giants, you really do want to lose this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you don't get a lot of opportunities to be at the bottom. When you do, you got to take advantage of it and get those top players.
Absolutely. Could change your franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a divisional battle in the AFC East between the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. Who do you think takes this one?
Oh, the Bills winning this one?
And I'm going to take the Jets to not play spoiler here, but get the upset.
All right. Yeah, I think the Bills might want a little bit of convincing everyone that they're all right after last week's performance. So I think that the Bills are going to want to lay a pretty good win on them this week.
Yeah, I kind of take this the other way. I think, what I said about the Bills' motivation, there's not really much to play for them. And we saw these teams in early in the year, very close game. Bills won by a field goal. And, I think the Jets have been playing better as of late. Rodgers and Adams, that connection has been incredible. In fact, I think last week it was a little bit ridiculous because he was kind of trying to force it to Adams for the 500th touchdown. So I think he'll, not make that same mistake this week. But I think the Jets are, this has been a very disappointing season, and I think they want something positive to come into next season. So, what the heck? I'm like 8 games behind you and pick them, so I got to take what I can get here.
Yeah, got to try and make it up somehow.
Yeah. I do think it'll be close, though. I really do. Okay. But, maybe the Jets will, maybe their Anders Carlson won't miss like the game-winning field goal.
One can hope.
Yeah. All right, and then we got a game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints. And who do you think takes this one?
Oh, the Saints winning this one.
And I'm going to take the Raiders here.
I think the Raiders may have learned after their mistakes last week of taking a game and may drop this one.
Yeah, that was my concern about it, that they could, they realize, they're kind of in the same position as the Giants. Like, we actually want to lose this. But the Saints, man, 34-0, and they looked absolutely terrible. I can't get that image out of my mind. Like, they looked like the worst team I've ever seen on Monday night. They just could not get anything going. Spencer the Rattler is awful. So Raiders are awful too. But yeah, I'll take the Raiders here.
All right.
And then we have a game between the Carolina Panthers, fresh off an upset of the Arizona Cardinals, and the Buccaneers, fresh off losing to the Cowboys. Who do you think wins this one?
I'll take the Buccaneers.
I'll also take Tampa Bay here.
Yeah, the Panthers, they've been so interesting the last several weeks. really close games versus Kansas City and Philadelphia. Took the Bucs to overtime not long ago. Yeah, they've been an interesting team, definitely. But I'll take Tampa Bay here, as they do have a lot to play for now, falling back in the division behind Atlanta.
Yes, that was just a terrible loss. I mean, against the Cowboys. Not terrible because they played like an awful game, although they certainly didn't play good. But just, man, you can't afford to lose that. You control your destiny, and now you have to win out and hope that the Falcons drop one, which is certainly possible because the Falcons, starting Penix, they're playing the Commanders, so it could happen. But man, you had it. You had this division in your grasp, and now it's up in the air. You don't control your destiny anymore. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, Buccaneers, very weird team. Feels like they can lose any week. Feels like they can win any week. So who knows what to expect out of this one? But they need this win. So I'll trust in Baker for this one.
Absolutely.
And then we got an awesome battle here between the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Combined 6 wins. Whew, this is a barn burner. Who do you think will win?
Oh, the Jags winning this one.
I'm going to take the Titans here.
Yeah, a rematch of the NFL's worst game of the year from just a few weeks ago. We get to see this one amazing matchup again. This time I think the cards may be a little different. Now we've got Mason Rudolph and looks like Mac Jones in for another week. So yeah, just a classic of a game that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, Titans able to produce a lot better last week, scoring 30 points against the Colts. I don't think they'll have that 6-point performance again, like the last time they faced the Jags. So I'll take the Titans.
All right.
I'm not confident in Mac Jones to do anything.
That wouldn't be there really, but I don't know.
All right, and now we go on to an intriguing matchup here between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts not practicing, still out with that concussion, so it could be interesting. Who do you think wins?
I'll have the Eagles winning this one.
I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Eagles could be good enough. Like, even if Hurts was not able to go, being able to lean on that running game, I think could be enough to take over a team like Dallas, who doesn't have their starting quarterback in play either.
Yeah, Dallas. I think should be a pretty close game. Jalen Hurts might end up playing, so that might not be a concern because concussions is just kind of once you pass the protocol, you're good to go. So any given day, he could pass the protocol and be able to play. But Mike McCarthy's got these guys playing. I mean, I think he's safely ensured that he's going to be the coach next season, for better or for worse. But I mean, these guys, they seem to be inspired, playing some good football. And the Eagles, if Hurts is out, I think that this is definitely a Cowboys win. Even though I do like Kenny Pickett, he's kind of my guy. But I think the Cowboys they're playing good football, and I like them to beat the Eagles here.
Well, I would disagree about McCarthy. I think he's absolutely gone.
Oh, really? I don't think so. I mean, the way Jerry was talking about him, man, he was just beaming over him after that last win against the Buccaneers.
I don't know, because I thought he should have been gone after last year's playoff loss to Green Bay.
Oh, certainly should be. But, I mean, with the Cowboys, man, I mean, you never know. Jerry, he seems to be very, irrational owner, as we all know. And I think he really likes McCarthy as a friend. And so I think that can make it tough to make the right decisions when that's the dynamic that you have. And like I said, the way that he was talking about McCarthy after that Buccaneers win, like, oh my goodness. Like, he was acting like this guy had just won like a playoff game or the Super Bowl. Like, he's got these guys playing like they're in the Super Bowl. It's like, okay, man. Like, I think he should be gone because, like, he has not been able to get it done in the playoffs. But I think this season with Dak being out has given him a huge pass. But he has been coaching better. But yeah, I think he's coming back next year for better or for worse.
Okay.
And then we got a matchup here between the Miami Dolphins and the Cleveland Browns. And who do you think will win this one?
Well, the Dolphins winning this one.
And I'm going to take the Browns here.
Oh, interesting. Why do you got that?
So, So this one, I looked up the forecast, wanted it to be a little bit colder. Right now, it's going to look like it's going to be about 45 and rain. Dolphins, as we all know, Tua especially doesn't play good in the cold. So, not really that cold, but I think still cold enough for him. So I'm going to take the Browns. Hopefully it'll be a wet, rainy game that the Browns just, are able to edge them.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I mean, Dolphins still a little bit to play for. Still technically alive in the playoff race. Not looking good, but they're still in that in the playoff picture.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a lot better about this game if the Browns end up starting Winston, obviously.
Mm.
So, I mean, if they don't end up doing that, I'm still probably going to take the Browns. But if they start Winston, I definitely like them to prevail over the Dolphins. Also, Dolphins, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are questionable, so that is definitely something to monitor.
Yeah, that could be big.
And then we got the marquee matchup of the week, at least for me. Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And who do you think wins this NFC North game?
I'm going to have the Packers winning this one.
I'm going to also roll with the Pack.
Oh, nice. What would be your analysis on this game?
So Packers, yeah, I think that game against the Saints was really beneficial for them. Like I said, being able to rest Jacobs for like the whole second half is huge. I think he's going to have a monster game here. And like I said, I think the Packers need to unleash Jordan Love as well. And I think, Matt LaFleur, I trust him to make that right decision. I think you're going to see a well-oiled machine in the Packers here going up against the Vikings, who have been playing good, but ultimately I do think the Packers are the better team.
Yeah, I would agree. And the last time these two teams played, the Packers outgained them in total yards by nearly 100 yards, but committed 4 turnovers that ultimately killed them. Nearly 400 yards for passing for Jordan Love that game. So I think that they would really like to get the better of Minnesota this time. I think there are definitely a lot of people doubting Green Bay, at least that's what I've seen this week, and saying they're not contenders at all, and like saying that based off of the Saints game, if anyone thinks that there are, that they're crazy. But I believe in this Packers team. I think they really want people to believe in them as well, and they'll get out a win in Minnesota.
Couldn't agree more. And then we got a game between the Falcons and the Commanders. Penix playing pretty well in his debut, just slaughtering the Giants. Commanders got a good win over the Eagles. Who do you think takes this one?
I'll have the Commanders winning this one.
And I'll also have the Commanders.
Yeah, I just think that the Commanders' offense, when they score, they can score in droves. And Atlanta definitely cannot do that.
Yes, completely agree. Jaden Daniels been playing really good. Definitely going to get the Rookie of the Year, as he should. And Commanders, going to be in the wild card. They're definitely a team that, NFC, man, that's just crazy how that conference has improved. I think it's going to be a really fun playoffs. I honestly don't even know who's going to come out of it. If you had talked to me a few weeks ago, I would have said the Lions, but I really could see many teams coming out of the NFC. So, hey, Commanders, it seems crazy, but if they're in the playoffs, I think they have a shot. So,
yeah,
Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Like, they could beat Philly. I think they got a shot.
Right, exactly. Like Philadelphia and Detroit, kind of the top 2 teams. But, obviously the Commanders can beat Philly. They just did. And Detroit has been beat up on that defensive side. So, I think the top 2 seeds in the NFC are quite susceptible to upsets.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Lions, they finish off the week with a game against the San Francisco 49ers, who have just been eliminated from playoff contention. Who do you think wins this one?
Oh, the Lions winning this one?
I'll also take the Lions here.
Yeah, that could be very interesting for them. They could be in a situation where they might be able to wrap up the 1 seed, or even just have to keep playing to stay in it, depending on how the games go before them. Yeah, so being a Monday night could make this game very interesting for the implications.
Yes, absolutely. But I do trust Dan Campbell to rally the troops and beat the 49ers. They certainly looked very good on the offensive side of the ball against the Bears last week. So, this Lions offense is just completely unstoppable still. I'm definitely taking the Lions here.
Yep.
All right, and from there, going on to our against the spread picks. We've had a rough couple weeks here. Last week, I took the Steelers at plus 6.5. We're not able to hit on that. And Scott took the Giants plus 7.5, not able to hit on that either. So, looking to rebound here as the season draws to a close. What is your against the spread pick?
So I'm going to go with something that's pretty opposite of what you were talking about in your game picks. I'm going to take the Bills minus 9.5 versus the Jets. They both have quite the history of running up the score on some of these AFC East opponents within the last few years. And after taking almost a bit of a week off in terms of scoring versus New England, I think they want to get back into it. I think they're going to put up a big game offensively against the Jets.
All right, and I'm going to take the Cowboys plus 9.5 in Philadelphia. If Kenny Pickett is the starting quarterback, I do not see this line staying at 9.5, so take it right now because there's a good chance that Pickett does play. Even if Jalen Hurts plays, I don't see the Eagles blowing out the Cowboys by any measure. I mean, the Cowboys are playing really good football. The Eagles run-heavy team, so that doesn't always necessarily translate to massive blowouts, although it does translate to wins. So I'm definitely taking the Cowboys plus 9.5 here. Like I said, been playing really good football and my favorite line of the week for sure.
All right, good stuff. After that, we'll head over to Rob's Fantasy Starts and Sits of the Week. It is Fantasy Championship Week for many people out there. Hope that many of you may be in the finals, like me. Even doing so, I didn't listen to Rob's advice, but I still somehow was able to make it through. I wonder what you got dialed up for us this week.
Yeah, so, I mean, not good for my teams last week, but had a great week here in the Starts and Sits advice, so I'm completely out of it, so my own biases will not be involved anymore. Lost in, all 3 leagues. 3 leagues I'm in, lost in all of them. What a shame. But hopefully your season is still not over. Hopefully you're playing for that fantasy championship, and I got you covered for this week. Last week, though, Jerome Ford, I said start him. He ended up finishing number 9 in running backs, got 131 total yards and a touchdown. So slam dunk on that one. Another slam dunk. I told you to start Sam Laporta, finished as the number 6 tight end, 4 catches, 43 yards, and a TD. 2 slam dunks. Then at the sits, we had another slam dunk here. I told you to sit both of the Seahawks running backs. Kenneth Walker, number 27 running back. Charbonnet didn't even record any stats positively in the run game as he had -1 rushing yards. Walker only 31. The one splotch on last week was Andrews, finishing as the number 8 tight end with 4 catches, 37 yards, and a TD. So looking to continue on our momentum, here are my Week 17 starts and sits. Starting with the starts, we'll have Devontae Adams for the New York Jets playing against the Buffalo Bills. So Adams has been on a tear recently, has a touchdown in 4 straight games. He's also had 10-plus targets in that same stretch. And he's gone over 65 yards in 5 straight games and over 100 yards in 2 of the last 3. Bills defense is a little bit susceptible, especially in the middle of the field where Adams does a lot of damage. I think Rodgers he's been playing certainly a lot better recently and looking for that 500th touchdown. It will probably go to Adams, so I would definitely start him in this game. And then I would tell you to start running back for the Buccaneers, Bucky Irving, who has really emerged as a very good running back for the Buccaneers, emerging as their primary. He's facing the Panthers, who are 32nd against running backs, and it just allowed the biggest game of the season for James Conner. So I would tell you to certainly start Bucky Irving. And then in the sits, I'm going to tell you to sit wide receiver Tyreek Hill. As we said before, he's questionable in practice, but it looks like he should play just taking a rest day. But they're playing Cleveland in the cold weather, in the rain, and we all know how Tua and the Dolphins have played in that environment. Not good. But also, Tyreek Hill really been on a slump the last couple of weeks. 5 catches for 65 yards the last 2 weeks combined. So I would definitely sit Tyreek Hill in this one. And then finally, I will tell you to sit the Saints running backs. Yep, the whole backfield, unless Kamara plays, which doesn't look like he will. Last week, Miller had 8 carries for 15 yards against the Packers, while Mims only went for 16 yards. So Saints backfield unable to do anything without Kamara. So if he does not play, sit both of those running backs.
Good.
And then we go on to Scott's parlay of the week for NFL Week 17. What did you have last week, and what do you have for this week?
Last week I got by the Jaguars against the Raiders. They were able to ruin the parlay. So we'll try to get back to the winning column again this week. And we are going to be betting against the Raiders again, as I will have the Saints right in the line there, plus 100. So I think that is a good number. I mean, that's such an up-in-the-air game, but I do like the Saints' talent better than the Raiders, so I will take the Saints. Also have another underdog here, Broncos, plus 144 against the Bengals. Like I talked about, Bengals not beating a single starting quarterback this year, and their defense, how bad it had been. I'm rolling with Denver here, so I'll take Denver. And finally, I have got the Detroit Lions. Got them at minus 168. That's one of the better numbers you're going to hit for Detroit. And against the 49ers team that's not been able to do a whole lot this year, that is a number I definitely like as well. So this week could be a big number for you if it hits. So this week, bet on the money line, Denver Broncos, New Orleans Saints, Detroit Lions.
All right, contentious there on that parlay, picking 2 out of 3 teams that I picked against. It's going to be very interesting to see how this season winds down. A lot of massive games, massive implications, both in your fantasy leagues as you guys go into the championship weekend and for the NFL teams. Hopefully your teams make it in. We shall see. And that has been all for this week for Mark My Words Football Podcast. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. And this has been Mark My Words Football Podcast with Rob
And Scott.
And wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We are tuning